Hey out there, Jenna Pecor with Bancroft Realty, and I am a realtor here in Grand Prairie, which is in North Texas. And today I'm doing a video about what it's like to be a seller in today's market. And so I have worked with both. Matter of fact, for a long time I worked almost exclusively with sellers because my niche really is um, helping senior adults and their adult children downsize and liquidate the contents of their home and their home itself. So I've worked with a lot of sellers over the past few years. But I'm back to working with buyers a little bit again, which is actually fun because a few years ago, it was not fun to be a buyer's agent. There weren't very many houses on the market. The ones that are on the market, you have to pay top dollar or more for. You weren't able to negotiate anything. It was basically like take the house or leave it. But now the market has shifted in a good way. And so there's a lot of benefits to being a buyer right now. It's definitely a buyer's market, if you're going to call it that, at least where we are. And what makes it a buyer's market is an excessive inventory. So a lot of choice is really what makes it a buyer's market. So 3 years ago in the pandemic, when we had the great migration from people coming from states to states, it was a seller's market through and through. It was a seller's market on steroids. Like you could basically just dictate whatever price you wanted on the house and someone was going to come along and pay it. It's not like that anymore. And it's taken sellers a little bit of adjustment to come down from the expectations of what it used to be versus what it is now. Here's the thing about selling a house just selling a house. This is the thing about real estate. You're taking a chance all the time that if you wait longer, things are either going to get better or they're going to get worse. It's the same thing with buying a house. Well, I don't want to buy a house because it's 6.8% interest rate right now, and I want to see if it's going to come down. It could go up. You're taking that risk. So when is the best time to buy or sell real estate? Today is always going to be the answer I give you. But what happened is if you've waited or you knew that you wanted to sell a house 2 years ago and you waited till now, the risk that you took did not pay off because now you're still going to make money on your house. The house prices have not dipped to the point that they're like, I mean, we're not talking foreclosures and stuff like that. What we are talking about is, whereas before you could have had market value on an offer on a house plus extra. So if let's say that the market value on your house was $200,000, you probably made $240,000, $220,000, $230,000, something like that. Now the market value might be $190,000 and you might get $180,000. So yeah, it is definitely a dip, but it's not like the house prices have come down to like $130,000. That's what I'm saying. So if you are a seller, understand what you need to have in an agent is someone who is very good at looking at data. Data dictates everything, and buyers have become savvy now. I am having people run comps, like ask me to run comps before they make every single offer to make sure that they are making good offers. You also need to understand not just what your price per square foot is, but also what are some of the things that people are asking for, like of the asking price, what percentage are they actually getting for it? So let's say that we started off, you're in an area that the average home price was $200,000, but all of them are selling really at $180,000 to $190,000. So it's like, okay, well, people realize that they can negotiate. So of that $200,000, you could probably expect to walk away with $180,000 or $190,000. That's really important, is to look at not just what the closing cost was, but what it started as, because this helps you as a seller understand how to temper your expectations for what you should be getting. The other thing that you need to know is how long are houses on average sitting on the market before they sell. If they're sitting too long, and not all of that is because that they're priced too high. I think during the pandemic, it was like 25 days on the market was the average, and now it's like 60. This is because we have a lot more houses on the market. So even if you price it really, really aggressively, it still might take a little bit of time to get a buyer from it. Especially if you're really a little bit over what the asking price maybe should be. But that's something that you need to know. The other thing is buyers are asking again for closing costs. There for a while, it was unheard of to ask for closing costs. Like if I were to try to get a house during the pandemic, not only was I not going to get closing costs, I was probably going to pay more for the house. And I probably wasn't even going to even get an option period because all the other people were saying that they wouldn't even make a seller do an option period. Now, it's not uncommon when I go back and look at closed comps, to see at the bottom that sellers are giving $8,000 to $13,000 in closing cost concessions to a buyer to buy that house. So these are all things to take into account when it comes to selling, and having an agent that can really give you those expectations from the beginning. It's great that you want a certain amount of money for what you're getting for the house, but an agent needs to be able to say, okay, here's the facts. This is what you're probably going to get. Now, an agent is responsible, obviously, for marketing and making sure that they're putting the best foot forward for the house. But an agent also is going to do what you ask them to do, because they're working on behalf of you. So, so all we can do is give you the facts and give you the data, and then proceed from there. But if you're really dead set on making a certain amount of money and the numbers just aren't there, then just understand your house is going to be sitting there for a very long time. And not every agent is going to want to sit there and wait with you, because it does cost money to keep those things on the MLS. You do have to constantly be marketing it. You have to be and it's hard when your house is sitting there for 6 to 8 months. And not only that, but it's like, as an agent, if I'm not being honest with you, and I will say this last year was hard because the market shifted real fast. So it was like a comp I could give in 1 week was totally different the next week. I mean, literally, that's how fast the market shifted. But now it's like, I don't want to be known as an agent who has houses that sit on the market for months and months at a time. So if you are a client who is not being realistic about what you're asking, then those are going to be kind of hard conversations with an agent. And an agent is not a miracle worker. Buyers are being very apprehensive right now about buying houses. They're being very savvy. If your house has any type of problem, especially with like the roof or the foundation, some of the aesthetic stuff people are fine with doing, but if you have a roof problem or a foundation problem, buyers are like, no, thank you. So those are something to think about. Do you want to go ahead and cover some of those? In previous, markets, I would never have somebody do that work ahead of time because it wasn't necessary. People are going to buy it anyway. Now it's like, okay, well, we have foundation work. What is your plan with this foundation? Because the sellers are probably going to ask you to fix it. Do you just want to go ahead and fix it now and advertise it saying that the foundation has been fixed, or do you want to wait and see what they ask you to do with it? And those are things to consider. The marketing of a house, these are all questions about, to consider. So make sure that you have an agent that's being very honest with you, is going through all the data, and making sure that you understand exactly, if you choose this is what I predict will happen if you choose this. If you decide to go with this number, you might get an offer, but it's going to take you, 3 months to do it. Are you willing to wait that long? And again, you're taking the chance. So it's like, if you wanted to get $200,000 for your house, and I keep telling you that it's probably only worth $175,000, well, you might get that buyer that actually really likes that house. Number one, can you wait 3 months? Is it something that you want to do and deal with for that long? Number two, what happens in 3 months if that doesn't happen? At what point are you willing to reduce the price to actually get the house sold? Because the goal of a real estate agent is to help you sell, not to help you keep it on the market forever. And so, so that's important. And just to make sure that you have someone that's checking in with you and giving you those updates. What I started doing was trying to give, like a monthly reporting. If the house had been on the market for 30 days, like, here are how many people have looked at the house. Here is the feedback that we're getting on the house. This is how many offers that we've had that you've said no to. This is, I don't know, like, this is what the other houses around here are doing. So our house has been on the market 30 days. All these other houses have been on the market for 20 days. What is our house not doing that these other houses are doing? So those are things that you really have to have a seller's agent now that is very cognizant of that. Sellers agents, I will be very honest with you, got very lazy during the pandemic because you could sneeze a sign into the yard and not even put pictures, and you could have a house sold within 10 days. That is not the case anymore. You really do need to have somebody that knows what they're doing. And you have to be willing to negotiate. This is the thing is, again, in a seller's market, sellers don't have to negotiate. I mean, they just don't. Like, if you have best and highest offers and you've got 25 offers sitting in front of you, you just pick the one that you like the best. You don't have to negotiate. You have to negotiate now. It is just where we're at, and that's okay. That is good. Agents need to learn how to negotiate again. So I am of the mindset when I'm a buyer's agent, I'm very aggressive in my negotiation. So I tell buyers the worst that the seller can say is no, unless you're really, really married to that house and you love the idea of that house and you can't live without that house. You know, if this is your dream house and you just want to have it, then pay what they're asking for it and move on. If you like it, but you know that there's other ones that you might like also, make an offer, see what a seller says. And sellers, don't get upset when you get lower offers than what you're asking. It's the market that we're in. It's not a personal attack against you or your house. It's not saying that your house isn't worth it. But if someone's going to try to get less money for something, that they're going to. It's just like if you go to the store and you only shop at Hobby Lobby when there's 50% off days. Well, I'm just trying to save myself money as a consumer. There's nothing wrong. It's not saying that I don't think that the picture is nice. It's saying I'd rather have it for 50% less. So it's the same thing with negotiating in real estate contracts. Everything is a negotiation. Everything is a negotiation, and that is okay. But you need to have an agent that is willing to do that with you. There's a lot of agents I see that are just kind of apprehensive about negotiating, which I don't understand. That's what we do. But so that is something that I feel I do well, is negotiate. And I help both my buyers and my sellers see the bottom line. What is this going to cost me? What is this going to cost me? And kind of get past some of those $10, $20 details that could really hold up an entire deal. But it's like, at the end of the day, this is how much money you're going to make. So are we okay with just moving forward with what they're asking? Or are we really going to make a big deal out of this one little thing? So those are all things that I go through. I also do a net proceeds sheet with every single offer that I give to my clients, because that contract is long. And we want to make sure that we understand it, but we also want to understand that we understand the numbers of the contract. What I hate is when you get to closing day or 3 days before closing day, you get your disclosure and all of a sudden you're like, this is not what I thought I was going to be making. A lot of times with sellers, what I've noticed is they think it's going to cost them a lot more money than it actually is to sell a house. So if I say to you, well, they want, you know, this offer that we're getting, they want you to buy the title policy. They have no idea what a title policy costs. In their mind, it's $7,000 or $8,000, when in actuality, it's $1,600. So seeing those numbers, seeing the contract represented as numbers is very, very important. And I do that for every client, both on my buyers and my seller side. If you're a buyer, I work with a lender to make sure that you as a buyer know as best we can. All of these are estimates. It's the best estimate. It's not an exact number, but it does give you a better ballpark idea than not knowing anything at all. So if you are in the market to sell a house right now in DFW, I would love to talk to you more. Jenna Pecor with Pecor Realty. My number is 214-558-4410. Give me a call. I've been a realtor since 2014. I have 11 years of experience, and I know what I'm talking about. So give me a call. Love to work with you. Bye.